Welcome to After the Buzzers, the sports podcast that's all about where sports and African American athletes meet. Your hosts today are Lee Jones and Raquel M.R. Thomas. Let's go.
Hey, welcome to today's show. I'm your host, Lee Jones. Welcome to After the Buzzers. This is the hottest new podcast going. Hey, I'm your host, Lee Jones. I'm flying solo today. My main man, Marvin Orange, and Miss Raquel Thomas, they're not in with me today, but we have a fly hot show for you tonight. I got several big topics that are going on in the world of sports, and we're going to jump right into it, and I'm going to let you have it. First, we're going to talk about the video that Roger Goodell put out about Black Lives Matter. We want to know, was that enough? What is enough, and what is the next steps should the NFL take to address these social issues that are going on in the country today? We're going to talk about Hall of Famer Michael Irvin's comments about Dak Prescott, saying that he needs back pay for the years that he's played and not gotten paid. I want to know from all of you, who is the top 5 players in the NBA today? With the NBA coming back, I want to revisit that and see who are the top players in the NBA, and I want to get your opinion as well. We're going to talk about who is the top 5 shooting guards in NBA history. I want to hear from you guys to tell me, who do you think are the top 5 shooting guards in NBA history? We're also going to talk about Duke's athletic director, says he has some serious problems with the pending legislation about name, image, and likeness that several of the states around the country are implementing. I want to know what you think about that and what you think about Duke's athletic director saying that. Kansas is going to get hit with some NCAA violations. What do you think about that? And what do you think the penalty should be for Kansas for these NCAA violations? DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson said that they will not mention the University of Clemson's name because the university is built on a former slave owner's plantation. His name is John Calhoun. That's why they won't mention his name in the starting lineups when they're introduced. I want to know, what do you think about that? And what do you think Clemson should do with all of the social issues going on in the country? What do you think they should do about this issue? Should they remove its name from several of the buildings around there? The University of Iowa football program talked about racism within their program. What's going on? And the question I want all of you to comment on today, is it time for Black athletes to start to move away from the predominantly white colleges and go to some HBCs? I want to know your opinion on that. So with all that being said, hey man, we got a hot show for you today. Again, I'm Lee Jones. I'm flying solo. You can call in at 803-570-5031. I need you. Call in. Let's chop it up. Let's start with our first topic. Roger Goodell. He finally put out a statement on the NFL behalf saying that the NFL was wrong and not listening to their players. They support racial equality and that Black Lives Matter. Now, on the surface, to me, hey, better late than never, but that's a start. But what else should the NFL do now that they've come out and they put out a generic statement, right? And it shocked some, but the NFL always is going to try to get on the right side of history. So by them putting out that statement, they're jumping ahead, trying to jump ahead of the backswell of all of this social injustice that's going on. So I don't necessarily think, we should throw a party for the NFL because they made a statement about Black Lives Matter. Where's the apology to Colin Kaepernick? Where's the job for Colin Kaepernick? He should be on an NFL team. He's better than, look, when you look at 32 teams in the NFL, 64 quarterbacks, Colin Kaepernick is one of those 64. Why doesn't he have a job? So NFL, do the right thing. Let that man come in, work out, and be a part of the NFL because he still wants to play. So for me, it's like, NFL, I need some action from you now. I need you to show me that you mean what you say and you're not just doing lip service because you want to get on the right side of what's going on in America today. That's what I need for you to do, NFL, and I'm waiting to hear from some of your owners. Yeah, it's easy to stroke a check. It's very easy to stroke a check. You have that money. You're billionaires. So stroking a check doesn't really mean anything to the cause, because we need to see action. And that's what I'm waiting on from the NFL owners, to come up with action. Again, callers, I need for you to call in. Tell me what your opinion is about this. Call in at 803-570-5031. I need to hear from you, callers. Jerry Jones, hey, the wealthiest team in the NFL. We know that Jerry Jones is a personal friend of Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, I think over 12 or 13 owners contributed to Donald Trump's inauguration and his campaign. Well, what's it going to be? Are you looking towards the future and what the NFL is going to look like with a 70% black players in the league and so on and so forth? Or are you going to say, I'm going to stick by my guns and say no kneeling and no support of social justice and protesting? Come on, NFL owners, step up to the plate and show America that you're on the right side of justice. Speak the words, Jerry Jones, Robert Kraft. Speak the words that Black Lives Matter. Speak the words. Speak the words. And let us know that you are going to be part of the solution and not the problem. I need to hear from your audience. Call in again, 803-570-5031. And tell me what your opinion is. Cowboy Hall of Famer Michael Irvin recently said that the Dallas Cowboys should pay Dak Prescott back pay because he's been underpaid since he's been in the league his past 4 years. Audience, tell me what you think. Tell me if you think that's a true statement, if Michael don't know what he's talking about, if Dak doesn't deserve it at all. Tell me what you think about that. I want to hear from you. I'll give you my opinion. Look, for all of you people out there that keep murmuring the words that Dak Prescott is not a top 5 quarterback, look at his numbers. Look at last year's results. All that we can do as fans and as people is look at what they were the last time we saw them play. What did they produce on the field the last time we saw them play? And if you look at every major quarterbacking statistic in the National Football League, Dak Prescott will be in the top 5 to top 10 of every major category. As a matter of fact, I did a quick analysis, and if you look at all quarterbacks in all the major categories, passing yards, touchdowns, touchdown to interception ratio, TD to interception ratio, all of those things, Dak Prescott in the top 10, and 4 of the 5, he's in the top 5. Why doesn't that man deserve to be paid like a Jared Goff, right? Like a Carson Wentz, who he has more wins than, and he's had more production. So when I look at Michael Irvin's statement, I tend to agree with Michael. Not so much from the idea that they have to give him back pay. It's not an issue of back pay for me. It's an issue of the man deserves the market value of the quarterback position in the National Football League as it's currently instituted. So Dak Prescott should be making $33, $34, $35 million a year, $110 million guaranteed on a 4 or 5 year contract. That's his value. That's the going value for his production in the National Football League. Facebook, talk to me. If you don't believe that, call me up and tell me why. If you don't believe that, don't just say he's not a top 5 quarterback. Tell me what, support your argument. Because everything I see from a production perspective says that Dak Prescott is a top flight quarterback in the National Football League, and he should be paid as such.
All right, we do have a comment from Facebook. It says, Dak will not get back pay. He can't get the money he wants now. That's from Courtney Nicole.
Look, Thank you, Courtney, for your Facebook comment. But let me say this. Dak will get paid. He's already has the franchise tender. So that's $31.2 million. So we know that is on the table, but that's on a one-year contract. What Dak is looking for is a long-term contract that'll pay him upwards of, $150, $175 million. That's what they're negotiating on. And for all you people that say, well, if they loved him or wanted him, they would have signed him already. That's what NFL negotiations look like, especially for the African American. My stance on it is, most white quarterbacks don't have this dilemma of having to wait a year and a half to get paid. Most of them get paid as soon as their time and as soon as they're eligible to get paid. Dak is in a little different stratosphere being an African American quarterback, but Dak will be paid. Remember this: the July 15th deadline is the most important date that you can remember. Put that down, because July 15th will tell the tale. So all you people that are saying they're not going to pay Dak, trust me. Either Dak Prescott is going to sign that tender and get $31.2 million a year, or he's going to be signed to a long-term deal. Either way, the brother gets paid. So I need to hear from you, Facebook. Thank you, Courtney and Nicole, for chiming in. I need to hear from you. If you disagree, tell me why you disagree. If you have an argument, let me know. But what I can tell you is that Dak Prescott, in his first 4 years of being in the NFL, his numbers rank in the top 5 all time of quarterbacks in their first 4 years in the NFL. If you don't believe me, check it out. Holla at your boy. I'm Lee Jones. Prove me that I'm wrong. Okay.
Hey Lee, I know we're having a little bit of technical difficulties right now. I believe Raquel is still trying to get in. I think you have to give her access.
Okay. And we have a caller as well. And I'm going to get on this caller right quick, and then I'll get Raquel in. Hello, caller. You're on with Lee Jones. You're on with After the Buzzers. Talk to me, caller.
Lee, first off, that logo is probably the tightest logo I've ever seen. Whoever made that is pretty good. No, hey, Lee, it's Chris. How you doing, my man?
What's up, Chris?
Hey, I got to say, look, here's my thing with Dak. You basically retired Tony Romo for Dak.
Right.
Jerry has got to have something in mind, because there's no way you retire. I mean, Tony, again, didn't do what we wanted him to do, but he was a decent quarterback.
Right.
But he's got to do something. He's got to do. I believe he's going to pay him. But I'm just saying, I'm getting a little frustrated because I know we got the franchise tag on him, but I think Jerry and Steven know what they want to do, but they're just not doing it. I don't know. But that's my opinion there. I think they want to sign him, but I just don't understand at this point why they just haven't gone ahead and do
Chris,
it.
Let me ask you this, Chris. Do you think, first and foremost, do you think Dak is worth the money?
I do, because I think the Cowboys, with the coaching change, with McCarthy coming in, I think that's something that can help Dak. To me, Jason Garrett was just an average coach and just couldn't get over the hump. And I think that's the guy. I think right now Dak's the guy you put him on the back and go. I think you've given him some weapons. You drafted CeeDee Lamb. We got Amari Cooper. Gallup has been playing well. You got Elliott. I mean, you got to me the best offense in the entire league.
When you compare Dak Prescott with Jared Goff, per se, Carson Wentz, Jimmy Garoppolo, what is that comparison, and what do you think? How do you think he stacks up against those guys?
No, that is an absolutely great question, and I'm going to go back, Lee. This is just my opinion. I'm going to go back to the coaching. You look at Wentz. I cannot stand the Philadelphia Eagles, but you look at what they've done, and I always talk to you about the all or nothing on Hulu or Prime, and the Eagles were on this year. You look at the coaching staff. You look at the way they coach him up. I just think Dak has not been in a situation where he's had a coach that can get him to the next level. I don't think Garrett – I think the same thing happened with Romo. I don't think Garrett was able to get him there. And I really think, Lee, I don't know if there's time you and I sat. I'll never forget when McCarthy was fired. We were sitting at a place in Memphis. We were eating chicken. You and I went to lunch, and McCarthy was fired, and we talked about him. I really think McCarthy's a guy that can come in and make Dak a better player, in my opinion. Maybe that's what Jerry's doing. He's going to see what happens this year. But I wouldn't let him get away, because now you're going to have to start all over again. I mean, I know they brought in a backup now that was a starter, and that may be pushing Dak a little bit. But I just think you got to invest in him, in my opinion.
Yeah, for me, Chris, and again, thanks for the call, Chris. The backup situation with the quarterback that came in, that's not an issue. That's not an issue at all. This is the thing that Jerry Jones and Steven are trying to do. They're trying to maximize this contract with Dak, meaning that they know that the market is going to change with the new TV money. So, short of us getting over COVID, right? The TV market money is going to change the entire scape of the salary cap. It's going to go up and up and up. What Dallas wants to do is get 5 years out of Dak Prescott instead of 4. Dak wants to go out in the open market earlier to maximize, again, that second contract after this one. It's not about Dak's talent or what the Cowboys think. A lot of people think that because a lot of people want to work off of their time with Dak Prescott. It's not about their time. That's why Dak, you haven't heard Dak say anything, because Dak knows that he has to July the 15th to get a long-term deal. And he also knows he can sign that franchise tender at any time at $31.2 million. So Chris, rest assured this: Dak Prescott will be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. Andy Dalton will be the backup. And Dallas will stride behind and win behind Dak Prescott. And it's a misrepresentation of Dak Prescott's first 4 years in the NFL, because I challenge anybody in the audience to tell me a quarterback that has had a better first 4 years statistically than Dak Prescott in the NFL, Chris. But thank you, Chris, for calling, man. Call back in anytime.
Hey,
I love your comments, bro. And hey, you take care, all right?
All right, Lee. Love what you're doing. Take care, buddy.
Appreciate it now.
Hey, man, we've got a comment from YouTube this time. It's from Camilla Griggs, and it says, "This is Poppy Griggs. Griggs, I quarterback."
You quarterback? I feel you, Poppy. I feel you, Poppy. You run the show. And again, the quarterback is the main cog of the team, and you have to make that thing happen. And Dak's the trigger man for the Dallas Cowboys, and he'll continue to be the trigger man. So we're going to move on to our next topic. Look, what I want to know from all of you out there, who, with the NBA coming back, they're planning on coming back, starting the season back up July 31. Who are the top 5 players in the NBA right now? I want to hear from you, audience. Tell me who is your top 5 players in the NBA. I'm going to give you mine, but I want to hear from you on Facebook, or you can call us at 803-570-5031. Talk to your boy. Let me know who's the top 5. Who's the top 5? My number 5 right now is James Harden. James Harden, scoring machine, doesn't play much defense. Hey, he does give assists because, he's always patting the ball and they're double teaming, he's dishing. Led the league in assists 1 year. So he's my number 5 player in the NBA. My number 4 player is Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is my number 4 player in the NBA. Kawhi can do it all. He can shut you down defensively. He shoots a high percentage. That's the other thing I like about Kawhi. Kawhi's field goal percentage, very high. The one thing I don't like about Kawhi is this load management stuff is getting out of hand with Kawhi. He's a great player. He has great skill, but he has to come off of the load management stuff. Come on, Kawhi. You're better than that, man. But that's my number 3 player in the NBA. Excuse me, my number 4 player. My number 3 player, Anthony Davis, the big man. He can do everything. He can step out and shoot threes. He can handle the ball on the break. He can score inside. He can score outside. He rebounds. This year he was on a tear, and I think he eventually, when the playoffs started, before COVID, he was going to be the reason that the Lakers won the championship as opposed to LeBron. We know LeBron is going to do his thing, but Anthony Davis was going to be the reason that the Lakers hoisted the banner. So that's my number 3 player in the NBA. Number 2, the Greek Freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis does everything well. He improved his outside shooting. He learned from when Toronto surrounded him and didn't allow him to get to the basket. So he improved a great deal on his outside shooting. And he's just a freak. 2 steps from half court, he's dunking the basketball. With improved jump shooting from Giannis, the sky's the limit. And Giannis can take over this league and be the top dog from now for the foreseeable future. Number 1 right now, LeBron James. What can I say? He's still the king. He still does his thing. At 36 years old, he's still leading the league in assists. There's nothing that he can do. He's a triple-double machine. Now, I'm gonna put a big caveat by all of those people and say next year, Kevin Durant's gonna knock somebody out that top 5. And he could go all the way up to number 1, to where I felt he was prior to him getting hurt, because he's a bad man. And doing the things that he can do at 7 feet is remarkable. But that's my top 5. That's my top 5. I see we have a caller. Hold on, caller.
Lee, your volume went out. Your audio went out. Lee, your audio is out. Lee, we cannot hear you. We are experiencing technical difficulties at this moment. Give us a moment. We'll be right back. Can't hear you at all, Lee. Can't hear you at all. Audio went out.
With Kevin Durant coming back next year, that's going to be the telltale. Will he be able to get back to the skill level that he once was at? And that's what I'm looking for with KD. Thank you, caller. I really appreciate you calling in. And hey, don't be a stranger. Definitely call in again, okay? All right, we're gonna keep rolling on. So my next topic would be with The Last Dance, with everything that went on with The Last Dance, I wanted to talk about who are the top 5 shooting guards in the NBA today? Who are the top 5 shooting guards in the NBA today? I definitely want to get your comments about that. Who are the top 5 shooting guards in the NBA today? So for me, I'll start out with my number 5 in NBA history. Who are the top 5 shooting guards of all time? That's what I want to talk about today. So number one, and first and foremost, a lot of you guys that have been around and are older, y'all will know this name. It's George Gervin, the Iceman. The Iceman poured in 25 points a game, led the league in scoring 7 years. He would be my number 5 shooting guard of all time. He would be my number 5 shooting guard of all time. Number 4 for me would be Allen Iverson. It would be Allen Iverson. A lot of people think Iverson played the point. No, Allen Iverson was a point guard. He definitely was a point guard. And Allen Iverson, as you know, league MVP once, and averaged almost 24, 25 points a game, 6 assists. Allen Iverson would be my number 4 shooting guard of all time. Number 3, Dwayne Wade. D Wade, as he's called, 3 NBA titles, Slash, as they called him, averaged 24 points a game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists for his career. Big time scorer, big time leader. Led the Miami Heat even before Shaq got there to a championship, and captured one when Shaq came about. So that's my number 3. Number 2, Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bean Bryant, you know, he baby Jordan, as you want to call it, you know, practice all of Jordan's moves. Very similar game to Michael Jordan. He's my number 2 shooting guard, 5 championships. What else? 1 scoring title, all defensive team, 9 years. Kobe Bryant's my number 2. And then number 1, you know, what can you say? Michael Jordan. Best player of all time, best shooting guard of all time. He's the one that everybody is looked up to and stacked their game against. Michael Jordan, the number 1 shooting guard of all time. Hey, I want to hear from you on Facebook. Let me know what your top 5 shooting guards of all time is. Hit me up at 803-570-5031. I want to hear from you Facebook and on YouTube. My next category, the University of Duke's athletic director said he's deeply concerned with the impending legislation about giving players the benefit so they can benefit off their name, image, and likeness. Colleges all over the country, athletic directors and college presidents are very, very scared that this is going to open up a Pandora's box. Really what they're scared of is they're scared of themselves. They're scared of their boosters. They're scared that they can't control their own alumni. But what about the individual players? What about the individuals that are out there actually playing on the football field, running up and down the basketball court, hitting the baseball, running track? Shouldn't they be able to benefit from their own name? Something that the family gave to them, nothing that the university did. That's their own name, their own image. These athletic directors are just terrified that their programs are going to be brought to light and shown that they cannot control the surrounding boosters, the surrounding businesses that support the college. And they want to have the players suppress and not be able to do the things that inherently is given to them. But I think the cat's out of the bag. California has led the way. 9 other states have already incorporated legislation Recently, the football coaches sent a letter to Congress because they want Congress to step in and set a uniform system for players, because they know that once these states start implementing their own legislation for name, image, and likeness, then each state and each player in each state gets to go out and negotiate the highest bid for themselves. And for me, I think that is capitalism at its best, and that's the American way. So I say to Duke's athletic director, be quiet. The time to pimp and use these athletes is over. At the very least, we're not talking about them getting money from the college. We're talking about them getting money for their own self, for their own likeness, which you put in the bookstores, their numbers, their faces on different literature, and you make tons and tons of money off of. Yet, they can't get a piece of that. That's not even the American way. And so it's time for these athletes to begin to benefit from their blood, sweat, and tears. And I say, I stand with the players. I think this is the greatest thing that has happened. And I think eventually it'll go even further than this, because you can't put the genie back in the bottle now. This system of using players where coaches get multi-million-dollar contracts and the players get a perceived education, which half of them are not graduating, is over. And those players should be able to profit. So I look forward to 2021 when a lot of these legislation comes down the pipe and we start to see these young men, women get their just due, and they start to make money off of their name. That's a very good rule, and I commend the state legislatures that have enacted on behalf of the athlete, because the NCAA certainly wasn't going to do it.
All right, we've got a comment from Facebook. It's from Poppy Griggs. I think she's referring to the previous topic. But she says, Poppy Griggs in the house. What's up, Lee and Raquel? Missing Marv tonight. Then she said, MJ, Kobe, Harden, Iverson, Wade, in that order.
Look, Poppy, let me say this. Yeah, MJ, Kobe, Iverson. Look, Iverson didn't win any championships. Iverson didn't win any championships. You have to downgrade Iverson. Great player, fearless, the type of player that I would want on my team any day. But D Wade has 3 chips. D Wade has 3 chips. You know, he went to 4 straight finals. Now, the cynic in me would say, but D Wade had far better supporting cast than Iverson. That's very true. That's very true. But we can't go back and be revisionists. We just have to say that we have to look at their careers and rank them. And I would put D Wade ahead of Iverson. I definitely would do that. Harden, look, Harden is modern day scoring. There's none better than James Harden. Defense, he lacks rebounding, suspect. He's a scorer. Now, I'll give him that he scores, and he scores like no other. But can he lead a team? He had 2 opportunities to get to the finals. And people say, well, Chris Paul got hurt or they would have made it. Look, if you are who you say you are, then you would have led your team to the championship. Forget whether Chris Paul was there or not. So I say Harden, I would rank him up there because he certainly is a great scorer. But let me give you some history. Harden has led the league in scoring twice. The Iceman George Gervin did it 7 times. That's why I put him at number 5, and I didn't have James Harden in my top 5. But Poppy, that wasn't a bad list. I'll give you credit for that. I didn't know you had it in you. Good job, young lady. But that wasn't a bad list. But I will say that Harden, he still has time. He has Russell Westbrook with him now, and maybe they can get to a finals. that'll change the narrative on James Harden. But right now, hey, you got to at least get to the finals, and that's something that he hasn't gotten to yet. So that's why I'll sort of keep him out of my top 5 right now. But good comment. Kansas basketball. Kansas basketball has received letters of infraction from the NCAA. And for those that don't know, Coach Bill Self was heard on wiretap talking about possible payments and dealing with certain runners. The NCAA has said that the culture at Kansas undermines and threatens the NCAA collegiate model, and that Coach Bill Self and his assistant, Curtis Townsend, welcomed and encouraged Adidas employees to influence high-profile basketball recruits to come to Kansas. My question is, what should be their penalty? What should be the penalty for Kansas basketball, who, by all means, is a corrupt program? Oklahoma State just got a 1-year ban, reduction of scholarships. They wasn't heard on tape working with people to steer recruits to their campus like Kansas was, and as we all heard. What should be the punishment? What should the NCAA do to Kansas and Bill Self? Kevin Ollie got a 5-year show cause because they said that he made some improper calls and improper contacts with recruits. But he wasn't paying money to potential runners to help facilitate recruits coming to your college. So what should be the punishment for the University of Kansas? I say at least 2 years banned from the NCAA tournament. Reduction of 7 to 10 scholarships over the next 5 years. And if it's proven that recruits prior to the ones that were named in this allegation receive benefits, they should strip them of any championships they won and any games that they won. Kansas should get a very, very harsh penalty because it goes to what the NCAA has always said, the integrity of the athletic model, that these athletes are amateurs. And it doesn't bode well for other schools like LSU that were on wiretap doing the same thing, and Arizona. And I do think Bill Self should get a 5-year show cause, very similar to Kevin Ollie. And I think the University of Kansas, if they're going to purge their program, I think they should fire Bill Self. Because if he's on wiretap in any way saying that this is a good idea and trying to arrange payment, he should go down. What do you think, callers? What do you think, Facebook? What do you think, YouTube? That's what I think. Bill Self is making $7-8 million a year. He's had players put on probation and banned, and they have to sit out almost the entire year for academic reasons. Yet he gets to facilitate players coming in and paying them cash and improper benefits. It's time for the NCAA, if they're serious about enforcement, to take a stand against Kansas basketball and make an example of them. I look forward to seeing how this case proceeds, and I look forward to seeing what they do with Coach Self. Look, the line, we have an open line, 803-570-5031. And as always, you can hit me up on Facebook to tell me what you think. Because these major universities have to be shown that they can't cheat their way through and it's been going on since the beginning of time. Some do it better than others. But it's time for the NCAA, if they're real about what they say. All we ask is you do what you say on paper, as they say. And we would want you to make an example out of Kansas basketball, one of your blue blood programs. So DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson both went to the University of Clemson. Those of you that don't know, John Calhoun name is on some of the major buildings on Clemson's campus. Who is John Calhoun? He served as vice president to John Quincy Adams from 1825 to 1829. But more than that, he was an advocate for slavery. He said, and I quote, "Slavery was a positive and good thing." Also, Clemson's campus is built on Calhoun's Fort Hill plantation. And according to the bio on the school's website, Mr. Calhoun enslaved 70 to 80 African Americans as slaves. So first of all, I commend, before I say that, I commend DeAndre Hopkins, because when you hear the starting lineups for the NFL and Hopkins, when he played with the Houston Texans, he never referenced Clemson University for this very reason. So much love and much respect goes to DeAndre Hopkins for that. Deshaun Watson has joined the fight that he feels that Calhoun's name should be removed from every building that's on the Clemson campus. What do you think about that? State your name. Hello, caller?
Yes, Brother Lee.
Yes.
Tony.
Hey, Tony.
I just want to touch, about the Calhoun statue you're talking about. There are more important things to talk about than removing statues there. I don't agree with that at all. I used to go watch Norman Snead, might be a little before your time, and by being a black man down there, we had to stand in the end zones to watch the game. But that's the way it was at that time. It has changed. Do you remember the first black to integrate Clemson?
I don't. Who was that, Mr. Tony?
Yeah, well, that was Harvey Gantt. That's your number one scorer on your list. Michael Jordan refused to endorse against Jesse Helms. You really have to. Pardon?
I do know Harvey Gantt. Yes.
Yeah, right. He ran for mayor of Charlotte. He was the first black to integrate Clemson. But as far as removing his statue and all of that, I'm surprised you mentioned that. Why didn't you talk about Mr. Debo Sweeney not chastising his assistant coach for using the N-word with one of his players? That was current. That was less than a year ago.
That's actually my
But
next
anyway, I don't want to be hard on you, Lee. I just want you to be super sharp, my man.
Hold on, Tony. I want you to stay on. Because he hung up. But this is what I would say. This is what I would say to you, Tony. First of all, thank you for calling back again. But I do think it's relevant. And I do think, and it's not necessarily his statue, it's his name that's on the building that they want removed. Let me tell you why. You have tons and tons of young African Americans coming to Clemson. You're winning national titles in football on a predominantly black and African American team. And it clearly it bothers the athletes that are working, that are playing there, and that are winning titles for you. And clearly it's something that the school hasn't addressed. So you're going into these young men, parents' homes, and you're telling them, we're embracing your kid, your society, your culture, right? You're embracing it, yet you still have this racist man who, by all indication, I mean, his bio is out there. You can read about him on campus. And by all indications, it says that he supported slavery and saying that it was good and positive. I wouldn't send my son there. And I think it is a worthwhile endeavor. I know they had some protests on Clemson's campus today, and I commend Trevor Lawrence for leading that protest. But I do think it's a worthwhile cause, and I do think they should continue to strive to remove his name because, again, you have young black men who are winning championships there, and clearly this is a message that they feel strong enough to voice their opinion. And even DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson, who have since moved on to the NFL, it still bothers them that this is such. So I do think it's a worthwhile and worthy cause. Tony, you did mention the issue, and I think Mr. Tony's calling back because I love this. Caller, you're on with Lee Jones on After the Buzzer Sports Podcast. What's your name?
Yes, Brother Lee, it's Tony. I'm calling back.
Okay.
You gave a commentary about Brother Calhoun, but you ignored what is taking place right now. Dabo Swinney, the head coach of Clemson, completely ignored no team apology for one of his assistant coaches calling one of his players a nigger. And you made no mention of that. Come on now, Lee.
Tony,
I want you to be sharp.
Hold up, Tony. That was my next topic that was coming up, as a matter of fact. So why don't you stay on and let's discuss that, because that is my next topic that I was going into about
okay.
Dabo. There's two things about Dabo Swinney. Thank you for calling back, by the way. There's two things.
Sure. I almost had to when you ignored that.
No. I definitely wasn't going to ignore that. That was next on my list. But two things. One, the N-word, and I agree with you that Dabo should have handled that. He should have addressed that to the team as a whole, not sweep it under the rug and deal with the individual player and the coach. What he did was, because that coach was his coach and he had him on the staff, was very similar, in my opinion, to what Joe Paterno did with Jerry Sandusky. We know that was a larger scale, but he's your friend, he's your mentor. We're going to sweep this incident under the rug, and we're not going to address it. Well, I commend the young man, Mr. Tuttle, for bringing it up, because obviously that affected him in a negative way. And so I agree. Dabo Swinney should be called out on that. Again, these players, Dabo Swinney came there, and these African-American players have got him an $8 or $9 million salary a year. And he's set up in these individual players' homes and said, I'm going to take care of your kid. No harm will come to them. But you allow the coach. I don't care what context it was. The N-word never should have came out of your mouth, coach. You don't have a right to say that. And so Dabo was totally wrong. The other thing that Dabo did, Tony, if you heard about this, but Dabo was seen a few days ago wearing a T-shirt that said, "Football matters." Now, with all of the protests that are going on out in the Black Lives Movement, why did he think that was appropriate to do? He took a picture and it was "Football matters." How insensitive can you be, Dabo? How blind can you be?
Well, see, Brother Lee, I'm going to tell you something that Malcolm told me 40 years ago. It's very easy for him to deal with George Wallace because he knows where he's coming from. He knows where he was coming from. Dabo Swinney wearing a shirt saying that, well, he said football matters.
Football matters,
yeah. That's minute. But you mentioned Joe Paterno. That was a bad analogy. You're probably a little too young, Lee, to understand or to know what Joe Paterno did for black ball players years ago at Penn State. The Sandusky situation wasn't a racial situation. Even though it was wrong, what Joe said, he had no idea of what that was all about, even though I think he was probably lying.
Tony, but you can't believe that Joe Paterno didn't know about that. Now, come on.
No. I said I think Joe is probably lying. But you have to know the history of Joe. If you know the history of Joe, you would give him a pass on that. Trust me.
I'm a little older than you think, Tony, but I do know the history of Joe Paterno. And all of the black players that came through there, Franco Harris and all of them, and that swear by him.
Well, I'm not talking about Franco Harris. Franco Harris is your generation. I'm going to go back to other players that you don't know, like Robinson and on down the line. I mean, Joe Paterno has always been out front. Always been out front.
And
always.
I commend him on that, Tony. But in this instant, what he did is unexcusable. It's unexcusable because he turned a blind eye to that. So I wasn't.
Yeah, but what you're failing to realize, Lee, the judicial system took care of that. Where's Mr. Sandusky now? Where's Mr. Sandusky now?
He's in prison, but Tony, this is what I'll say. Where are all those young people that he molested? Where are they in the trauma that they're going through that they didn't have to after the first one came forward? See, that's the issue for me. It's not so much. I'm glad that Sandusky's where he's at, but I will never turn a blind eye to Joe Paterno because he could have done something about that, and others too in that Penn State community. They turned a blind eye, and for that, he has to be called out on it. I have to call him out on that because
I agree. LeVar Arrington is standing next to me now, and LeVar will concur with what I'm saying. So I think you'll probably I think you'll backpedal like Deion Sanders on that one, Lee. What do you say about that?
I'm not going to backpedal.
I have LeVar on my side.
I love LeVar. I followed LeVar when he was at Penn State. He played.
I'm not talking about following LeVar. I know LeVar. I've worked with LeVar. I think you will backpedal.
No, I'm not going to backpedal. But I love LeVar. I didn't like him when he was at the Redskins because I'm a Cowboy fan. But I love LeVar Arrington. But on this one,
Lee, I had to get the backpedal part in because Joe Hayden, who plays with Pittsburgh now, he made the comment last week that Drew Brees was backpedaling on his statement as fast as Deion Sanders.
And he did, Tony, and he did. He definitely did.
Which was the proper thing to do, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised that he didn't have the sophistication not to make a statement like that. But as I previously stated to you, Lee, you can deal with those types better because you know where they're coming from. Tom Brady is a Trump supporter. What does that mean? Bill Belichick is a Trump supporter. What does that mean?
Absolutely.
I say, what does that mean?
Are you asking me that?
Yes, I'm asking you. What does that mean? I mean, that's a privilege. That's a privilege. You cannot dictate. Yeah, sure. You can't dictate to a person that I should support this particular candidate. As I told you, Michael Jordan. I didn't agree with Michael when he refused to endorse Harvey Gantt, the first black to integrate Clemson, who ran against Jesse Helms, nothing but a racist termite. I didn't condemn him for that. We evolved. Michael, the $100 million that he gave for the next 10 years, that was great. That was great. I mean, there are different methodologies, Lee, and you have to keep that in mind.
No, I agree. Let me ask you this before you go, Tony. I want to get your opinion on that because I'm enjoying talking to you. Is it time, with all of the racism on college campuses that our athletes are experiencing, is it time for some of our athletes to move away from the predominantly historically white colleges and attend some of our historically black colleges and universities? I know there's a young man that is pondering whether the number 1 15-year-old in the country is pondering whether he will go to an historically black college and forego the traditional colleges. What is your opinion on that? I'm interested to hear that.
Do you want me to be honest with you, Lee, or you want me to be nice?
I want you to be totally honest with me because I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay, I'm going to be extremely honest with you. You are a proponent of capitalism. You stated that about 15 minutes ago. You said that was capitalism. That was capitalism at its best. Mm-hmm. That idea is about as ludicrous as defunding the police. What would be the advantage?
What idea are you talking about, though? What idea are you talking about?
Of black athletes not going to Division I schools, going to historical black colleges. I had a kid.
Why is that?
Let me finish.
Okay.
Sure, because I prefaced a statement with your endorsement of capitalism.
Okay.
They aren't going to get the big buck at the historical black college. That's ludicrous.
Who's not going to get the big bucks? Who's not going to get the big bucks?
The athletes that you are even entertaining the thought of not going to Clemson or not going to Ohio State.
What bucks are they going to get from the college?
You said what bucks are they going to get from the college?
They're not going to get. Look, this is what I'll tell you, Tony. That'll happen if young black African Americans start going to HBCs. The ESPNs, the ESPN2s, the Foxes, they're going to follow these kids because these kids are child prodigies and a lot of them are one and done. It'll bring more attention on the HBCU, and if more of those kids go to HBCUs, the economic structure and the situation that some of our historically black colleges will change. I don't know what bucks you're talking about, but if you're Bronny James, LeBron James' son, and if you decide to go to an historically black college, he's still going to get the press the same way Steve McNair got the press when he played at Alcorn State and was a #1 draft pick. That player's talent will follow him. So I think personally that if some of our black young men start to do that, it will be great for society and they'll have a much better experience by being in that setting for a year, because that's really all some of the top athletes, and those are the athletes we're talking about going. Those are the ones that would go. So I would disagree with you on that one because I don't.
Yeah, that sounds good, Lee. The only thing that will probably get. Have you seen LeBron's son play? He's not even starting for the league that he's in right now.
He's in the ninth grade, though, Tony.
Yeah, he's in the ninth grade.
But he's in ninth grade. Yeah, he's getting playing time. He's in the ninth grade, so I think he's going to be, by the time he's a senior, one of the top players recruited in the country.
Yeah. That was a nice idea, Lee, but the only thing I can say about that, as I characterize it as ludicrous, I tell you what I will do. Any black athlete that you can recruit that will concur with you on that, I will give each one $1,000 with absolutely no hesitation. No hesitation.
Well, that's great.
The thought is great, but it's totally unrealistic. Totally unrealistic.
I disagree with that, but I thank you though. I appreciate you saying that. I disagree.
Yes, and we will. Trust me, and I will. I'm going to follow your show. I will call in because. Yes. As I said, Lee, I want you to be what? I want you to be sharp. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make you sharp.
Tony, I appreciate it. You continue to call because this is what I love to do. I love to debate.
Okay,
so
my man.
Please continue to call, okay?
Okay. Have a good day, Lee.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it.
Sure.
That was excellent. Thank you, Tony, for calling. I really appreciate that. I disagree with you, Tony, but I appreciate it. And thank you. Tell a friend, because this is how we try to do it every week. Again, my co-hosts are not with me. Mr. Basketball, Marvin Orange, Miss Raquel, M.R. Thomas, they're not with us today. But this is what we do. And we talk about the social issues that are going on. We try to blend sports, race, and culture, because I think it's important that we get these topics out there and we talk about these topics, because if we don't, who will? Look, I've come to the end of the show. I want to say this. We'll be on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. Hey, tell a friend about the show. Again, my co-host will be with me next on Saturday. But this is how we do. I appreciate all the people that commented. Definitely appreciate you, Miss Tony, Miss Poppy, Miss Courtney. We had a great show. I just want to say, my name is Lee Jones. Hey, keep fighting for social justice. Keep fighting for equality. And by all of us getting together, we're going to uplift our people. I'm Lee Jones. I'm going to sign off. Have a wonderful and blessed evening.